You know that feeling, don't you? The cold touch of a presence watching you from the dark corner of your room, the lingering gaze of something not human. It's not just your imagination. And once you hear this story, you'll realize that some creaky mysteries are better left unsolved. It all started in a small, forgotten town, deep in the countryside, where no one ventured unless they had no other choice. The kind of place that even the sunlight seemed to avoid. There was a house, an old, crumbling mansion at the edge of a dense forest. The locals called it the Widow's Keep, though no one could remember why. Rumor had it that the house had seen more deaths than births, and the walls whispered secrets too horrific to comprehend. The story begins with Amelia, a curious young woman from the city who was drawn to the town by tales of the strange and inexplicable. She was a writer, always searching for the next big story that would chill her readers to the bone. When she heard about the Widow's Keep, she couldn't resist. This house, she thought, would be her masterpiece. She arrived on a cold, misty evening. The fog wrapped around her car like ghostly fingers, guiding her toward the mansion as if it were alive, beckoning her closer. The air was heavy, thick with an unnatural stillness. Even the birds refused to sing in this place. Amelia felt a shiver run down her spine as she parked in front of the dilapidated mansion. The house seemed to breathe, the wooden walls creaking and groaning as if it were aware of her presence. As she approached the front door, she noticed something odd. The windows, though clotted with dust and grime, appeared to have faint handprints smeared on the inside. A small handprints. She told herself it was just her imagination, a trick of the light, but the feeling of unease crept deeper into her bones. The door was unlocked, as if waiting for her. It creaked open with a groan that echoed through the empty halls. The air inside was colder than outside, and it carried a faint, sickly sweet smell, rotting flowers mixed with something metallic. Blood. She pushed the thought away. The first room she entered was a grand foyer, or at least it had been at one point. Now, the walls were lined with peeling wallpaper, and the floorboards creaked beneath her feet. An old, broken chandelier hung precariously from the ceiling, swaying slightly even though there was no breeze. Dust covered everything, thick enough to leave imprints as she walked. But what caught her attention was the mirror at the far end of the room. It was massive, with an ornate gold frame that had long since tarnished. Unlike the rest of the house, the mirror was spotless, as if someone had just cleaned it. Amelia approached it cautiously, her breath catching in her throat. Hid reflection stared back at her, but there was something off. She leaned in closer, her eyes narrowing. That wasn't her reflection. It looked like her, but the eyes were all wrong. They were too wide, too dark, almost hollow. And then, her reflection smiled. Amelia stumbled back, her heart racing. She glanced around the room, but nothing had changed. The silence was deafening, pressing in on her from all sides. She turned back to the mirror, but now her reflection was normal again, if a bit distorted by her panic. She laughed nervously, brushing it off as fatigue from the long drive. But deep down, she knew something was wrong with this place. She decided to explore further. Each room she entered was worse than the last. The kitchen was filled with ancient, rusted appliances, and the stench of decay was overwhelming. The table was set for dinner, though the food had long since rotted away, leaving behind a moldy, black sludge. Flies buzzed around the remnants, though their droning hum seemed off. Like they were whispering, their tiny wings vibrating with secrets too horrible to share. Upstairs, the bedrooms were frozen in time, beds still made as if waiting for someone to return. In one of the rooms, a chief's room, the wallpaper was covered in faded drawings, stick figures, crude depictions of a family. But there was something unnerving about them. One of the figures, a woman, was always drawn with her face scratched out. And in the corner of every drawing was a shadowy figure with long, twisted limbs and hollow eyes, looming over the family. Amelia felt a wave of nausea wash over her. She had to get out. She rushed down the stairs, her footsteps echoing through the empty halls, but as she reached the front door, it wouldn't budge. No matter how hard she pulled or pushed, it stayed firmly shut, as if the house had decided she couldn't leave. Panic set in. She tried every door, every window, but they were all locked tight. The house was alive, and it had no intention of letting her go. The air grew colder, and she heard it, faint at first, but growing louder. A soft humming, like a lullaby, drifting through the halls. It was coming from the basement. Amelia didn't want to go down there, but she had no choice. The humming grew louder with every step she took down the creaky wooden stairs. The basement was pitch black, the only light coming from a single, flickering bulb hanging from the ceiling. The smell of damp earth and mildew filled her nostrils as she descended, and the humming, it was right behind her now. She turned, but no one was there. Use darkness. Seek, suffocating darkness. She swallowed hard and continued down the stairs, her breath quickening with every step. The basement was vast, larger than she had expected, with dirt floors and stone walls that seemed to close in on her the further she went. In the center of the room was an old, wooden rocking chair, and sitting in it was a doll. Its porcelain face was cracked, one eye missing, and its tiny mouth was twisted into a sinister grin. The doll's head slowly turned to face her as she approached, its remaining eye gleaming in the dim light. And then, the chair began to rock. Amelia backed away, her heart pounding in her chest. She could feel it now, the presence. It was all around her, watching her, feeding on her fear. The walls seemed to pulse with it, the air growing thick and heavy. She turned to run, but something grabbed her ankle, yanking her to the ground. She screamed, kicking and thrashing, but there was nothing there. Just the cold, clammy grip of the unseen. She crawled toward the stairs, her hands slipping on the dirt floor as the humming grew louder, deafening. It filled her head, drowning out her thoughts, her screams, everything. And then, silence. Amelia opened her eyes. She was lying on the floor of the basement, the doll's lifeless gaze staring down at her. The humming was gone, but the presence remained. It was inside her now, crawling beneath her skin, whispering in her ear. She tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't obey. She was trapped. Forever a part of the house, just like the others before her. The next morning, the townspeople found her car, still parked in front of the widow's keep. But Amelia was never seen again. Some said her spirit roams the halls, lost and afraid, while others believed the house claimed her soul, just like all the others who dared to enter. But the truth is even darker than that. Because the house isn't haunted by the souls of the dead. It's haunted by the souls of the living. And now, it's waiting for you.